In this example problem, we have a data file which has the market price for two different companies for a period of time from January 2016 to December 2019. Our two companies are Apple, a company I'm sure everybody in here is familiar with, and Merck, which is a European pharmaceutical company. We want to see what the general trend is in the stock price for these two corporations' stock, and we want to visualize that using a line graph. This is not incredibly complex to do in Excel. What we can do is we can just highlight all of our information, including the header. So I'm going to highlight A1 through C1, then use the Control-Shift-Down shortcut to highlight all of our information. I'm going to go to Insert. In Insert, this line right here is the line chart area. Click the drop down, and I'm just going to pick the top one on the left. You can pick whatever one you want that you think looks pretty. I'm going to go with just the regular guy, though. Let's move my chart up. And I mean, that pretty much sums things up in our chart right now. We can give it a title. We can call it comparison of stock price. And this pretty much, as is, would tell people what you're looking at. And they can see right here, if you're a company that has free cash flow and you're looking to invest, it looks like Apple is the company that had the much greater return over that period of time. Went from like $100 all the way up to almost $300, while Merck has remained fairly consistent, though it has grown. We have the information that we need. And you could put this chart in if you wanted to. Or, just for the sake of doing what we do, let's pretty this thing up a little bit. First thing, we don't have an axis title over here to let people know this is measured in dollars. I think it's safe to assume that they would think that because it's stock price, but let's give the people what they want. So I'm going to put an axis title in. And I'm going to put stock price in dollars over here. And with that, we got why this is on. We got a better labeled graph. One thing that's interesting when you use this for a line graph is the farther you stretch it out, it changes the intervals of dates. Like you can see right down here, it's putting a date in for every 3 months. But if I wanted to stretch this out really far, now it goes every 2 months. If I wanted to shrink it, now it's going every 5 months. So the size that you scale, actually, the Excel will auto change the intervals that you have on the bottom. 3 months sounds pretty good though, so we'll go with this. This axis title is just taking up space. I don't even think I need to write date because I don't know what anybody could confuse all of this with. So I'm just going to delete this guy out. There he goes. I'd prefer to have our legend up on the top, so I can just click on the legend. I can right click, I can format the legend, and I can move it to the top. That looks good to me. A few other things that we have going on here that just for the sake of nitpicking. I think it's kind of redundant to have the chart called comparison of stock price and then have it say Apple stock price and Merck stock price. I think just saying Apple and Merck would be perfectly sufficient for what we're trying to do here. So I can click anywhere on the chart. I can go up to chart design. And here there's a tab that says select data. And I'm going to click on that. And in here we have our legend entries, where it says Apple stock price and Merck stock price. If I click edit, I can change the series name. The reason it's called Apple stock price dollars is because that's what I have written over here as the header. But if I just type in manually Apple, it shortens it to just the name of the company. And I like that better, so I'm going to do that. For Merck stock price, I'm going to do the same thing. Click on that, click edit. I'm not going to have it be a cell reference to a spot anymore, which is what Excel automatically does. I'm just going to change it to Merck by itself. And that's not looking too bad to me. There is another thing that I'm not a huge fan of that we have in this graph, though, and that's that every one of these dates is taking up a bunch of space, but every one of them is the first of the month. I mean, it's fine that the way that it is, but maybe I just wanted to have the month and the year without having /1 in the middle of all of these guys. Well, I can make that happen. The first thing I got to do is I need to change the way that these are written over here. So for the first guy that we have, I am just going to put in 01 2016, and it changes it to Jan 2016, which I'm not a fan of. The next two would just be 02/2016. Also not a fan of that. We got to fix this situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the two of these. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to Format Cells. There is a section that has date where you can change it, the format that you have to any of these ones that are in here, but none of them are what I really want, where it's just the month and the year. So what I can do is I can go down to custom. And the way that I want this displayed is not the way that it's being displayed here, month, date, year. I want to get the date out of there, so I'm going to type in month slash year. And you know you're correct because it displays a sample up on here, and it'll change the first one to just 01 2016. And I can click OK now, and there we go. It reformatted my two cells. Now I gotta fill in all of these lines. Do I want to type all of that stuff in? No, I do not. So the easiest thing to do is Excel can recognize a series. Just go and highlight the two entries that you have, and that's enough to tell Excel that we're increasing by a month each time. And if I fill handle down, as you can see from the little example that's on the side right there, it is indeed going up by a month every single time. So I'm just going to fill handle until I have my whole series of information in here. And there we go. I like the look of that much better without the day of the month in the middle, but it's still showing on my chart. How can I change that? Well, I'm going to click on the chart. I'm going to go to chart design. I'm going to go back to select data. And over here we have our horizontal axis labels, which is what's showing all of this stuff. I don't want that set that was in our original set over there. I want this new one that I just made. So I can hit edit, and instead of having it be all of column A over there, I can highlight all of these new numbers that we just put in. And now when I hit OK and hit OK one more time, it has changed the format of our table, and I think this just looks much easier to read. And then, if we want to be really fancy, with chart design open on the top, I have this entire list of stuff that you can change to in here. I kind of like that one, but it makes it hard for viewers to look and see exactly what the thing is because it doesn't have cross lines. I'm also a big fan of this one, which I think I'm going to go with. The black just pops. But here, I think we have a much better looking graph. It moved my legend to the bottom again. I don't know why, but it'll do that sometimes. So let's go and format this legend and put them back on the top. There we go. Now I'm much happier. And here's the chart that I would insert into my written report.